Ready? All right. That's my cue. All right. So this is the first ever episode of a podcast that we don't even know the name of yet.
Nope.
Ryan Williams, Dakota Westbrook. We are putting something together to basically highlight the entrepreneurship journey, the human journey of what it means to set a goal and the work that it takes to actually achieve that goal and what the path looks like on the way there. My background, I was a Navy SEAL for 10 years and then built and sold a couple of apparel lines, a kettlebell company, and now we have a company that basically produces apparel and data analysis and fulfillment for a lot of other e-com brands. So a lot of infrastructure and background support.
So I'm Kota. I've been filming and creating videos for the last 10 years of my life. I just love telling stories with camera, and I just wanted to make it a career. Wasn't sure if it was able to, but didn't go to college. It was all self-taught, all YouTube, which is a great thing. And now I have a creative content agency where I take over different brands, different companies, their YouTube channels, and I create other content pieces for all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, because we all know right now, content is king. So
yeah, and one of the things that I'm excited about that I think you guys listening and watching will really get a lot out of is that Dakota has a lot of experience as an operator in the company, but this is his first 3 months. Is it 3 months? Yeah, first 3 months. So basically, Dakota is very new into the entrepreneurship journey. You learn a lot in the first 3 years, and this is, I think, our 15th year in entrepreneurship. So a lot of what you're going to hear as a listener or the viewer is we're going to take one perspective and then or one topic, and he's going to come at it from his perspective and I'm going to approach it from my perspective, and we're almost going to talk about it like you'll see two different sides of things, even though it's one truth, it's one thing that actually exists, but you'll see it completely different sometimes. So that's kind of what it's going to be, is we just want to share with you guys the things that we're experiencing and going through in our own entrepreneurship journeys.
100%.
So, there we go.
There we are.
So the topic today is very relevant to when you're first starting out in a business, and this could happen in your first year, it could happen in 10 years, whatever, but when to hire your first person, how to hire your first person, when to even know if you need another person. Yeah. And what I found, this is something I wish I knew existed years ago, because I was so confused as I was going through the stages of this, and I didn't realize that they existed until after I'd already gone through them. So the evolution of an entrepreneur, and you and I have talked about this before, but it's basically when you're an initial entrepreneur and you have an idea and you're like a solopreneur, as it's called, you're essentially an operator in the company. Like, you're the one doing all the work, you're doing all the things, all the tasks, and it's great because you usually have a little bit way less overhead. You don't have to deal with PR issues and personalities and drama and everything. But you can only get so big. The next step to that is you bring on a few people, and that's where you bring on like 4 or 5 people. You're not the one doing the tasks anymore. You're not so much an operator, even though you still do a lot of it. And that's where you start to become a manager. So you're managing a small to medium-sized group of people, 5 to 8, something like that. And then the evolution beyond that is once you get a team of 10 to 12 and a little bit broader scope of personalities, you start to step into a leadership position. And the fact is that you can't do all of it at the same time. You cannot be an effective leader and still be an operator doing all the things. You have to delegate certain tasks. You have to hand things off. You have to trust your people. You have to find the right people that you can trust. And in my experience, that has been the hardest part of entrepreneurship for sure, was figuring out the people. Business itself is pretty linear and it's hard, but it makes sense. But people don't make any fucking sense.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
So you speak on where you're at right now in the business and what you think the evolution is going to look like for you in the next 6 months.
Yeah, 100%. So for me, my first year of business, like Ryan said, I stepped out and did my own thing, and I was just ready. I didn't really want to work 9 to 5 for someone else. I always had that entrepreneur mindset, right? Going into it yourself. So this is my second year in business, survived my first year, but I made a huge audible. I started doing the more artistic, music videos and doing that route, but that's a different story. That's hard. There's a lot of not the best financially, people doing that, all that kind of stuff, whatever.
Product market fit, man.
Yeah, it's tough. So I had to change it and make an audible of like, okay, how do I become more value to people that actually can pay for that service, right? So for me, this last 3 months, I changed my business model to go straight for content creation for companies that actually have a sustainable business already, but also creating content for them. So when people see it, it's like, okay, cool. Like, this is who they are. Like, the whole paper resume, like right now, it's like, it's completely dead. Your portfolio, your resume is on it's on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. It's all online.
Especially as a content creator. Like,
yeah.
It's like a resume. You're right. Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I had the idea. I was like, all right, cool. I already have mine. A lot of people need that too. And you hit more people that way, right? So to answer your question, this is like my first 3 months into it. I just hired my first person last week, right? And like the biggest thing you just said is delegating. That was one thing, like it's very hard to do when you're not used to it, right? Because ever since I was first filming, it was always me editing. It was always me creating the like content, doing the music, all this kind of stuff, right? And I have my like print on it, and that's what people know, like, oh, Kota does a good job at that. Once I had so much work now with clients, I'm like, okay, I can't work with 7, 8 clients all at the same time during the same week. I have to delegate that and give it away.
Now it's a scaling issue. Exactly.
Now it's a scaling, and it's a beautiful thing. With the music video thing before, if you are doing music videos, like, that's great. Keep doing that if you want to and you love it and you don't care about all that kind of stuff. But scaling wise, it's very tough because when you're an artist, as an editor, they want your style. So it's very hard to have someone will replicate your style, especially if you're paying for them to do art, the same style, right? So it's like hard to scale in that way. They're very replaceable.
That's the entrepreneur's dilemma, or at least when you're first starting out, you think you just need more of you, right? Like, I need more of me. That's what I first thought when I was operating the company. It was literally just me and the entire company. I was like, oh, I need more of me. But now looking back, I mean, I think we have like 12 people on staff now. Our company would be fucking terrible if there were 12 of me, right? Because I'm only really good at a few things, but the key for my business anyway to scaling was to bring on people who were strong where I was weak. So over time, we've been able to build a really solid foundation of people who are really strong in a bunch of different areas. So now we have a really good kind of platform and foundation for other people to build their businesses on. And for us, that's been super helpful. But in the beginning, I thought I just need to replicate myself. But in reality, in your case, totally right. You need to replicate somebody that has your style and your capabilities. But that comes down to like systems and processes. But now you're trying to systematize and create a process around a creative like perspective. And man, that is so difficult. And how's that going? Like, can you talk a little about how you found the person, how you decided what tasks they're going to take on?
100%. So I didn't know what to do. That was like my first hire. And I talked to you about it, talked to a couple mentors about it. And they're like, yeah, one of the greatest places to do is go to Upwork, right? Because this is a huge tip. It's very expensive when you're starting out to hire someone in the States. We're here in California, like it's not cheap, right? So I knew they told me, go outside the States and find someone that has really good video editing skills, and they do that, but it's a cheaper price point. And I was like, all right, cool. So I just did that. I went on upwork.com and I just made a job posting. Within 10, 15 minutes, I had like 30 people hit me up. And I was like, all right, cool. Oh, awesome. Now I have to go through like all their kind of resume stuff and go to their Google Drives. 90% were just like, you could just tell they just started editing and they're trying to catch up and do stuff like that. And I was like, all right, cool. But the other 10%, I was like, all right, cool. This is something. And you get to that 10%, you find somebody, and I did really quick. But then there's more challenges that come with that, right? I talked to him. He gave me a really cool piece back. We did like a video test piece, and he sent it back, and it was really good. I was like, I like this. We exchanged prices and all that kind of stuff. And that's when I had to step back and be like, okay, how much am I charging him to do a video? If I charge him this much, how, like, my profit margins? Yeah. Right? That was like the new thing for me. It's like, okay, well, if he's doing that, how much am I getting paid for one video out of 24 a month for each client? And all that.
Such an important question too, because I made that mistake. I just want to jump in and address this topic while it's here. Is that when I was an operator in the company, I made my prices super low margin because I had no overhead. I didn't put enough margin in for me to scale and grow. So it was really tough when we did start to bring on more people and had more overhead, more infrastructure to pay for. I didn't have the margin to support it. So it's really difficult to kind of like, I screwed myself because I didn't have the foresight to build the margin in to scale and expand. Because we were at like super low, like, 15, 20%, when I think in reality, like most business models should have a minimum of like 40% margin, because not all that's gonna be profit, like you might have, 25, 30% of that is going to be, overhead infrastructure. So if you have 40% margin, you might only, take home, put in your pocket 10% of that, at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. It's just a different thing when you're doing it yourself, and then that's where you delegate, and you're like, oh, now I have to worry about how much am I really paying? And then like, oh yeah, like your price sounds cheap, right? But then if you like go over that, now you're not making any money and the other kid's making it. And it's like, okay. So we came to a price point of how much it would make sense for him to work, how many hours for each video, 24 videos a month, all that kind of stuff. So we did that. And then he's on the other side of the world, right? So
did you guys have an hourly rate, or is this do you come up with a package deal?
So right now it's hourly, right? Okay. Just because it's all new to me. So I'm just like, okay, it takes him about 2 hours to do one video. There's about 3 he needs to knock out in a day, and then just so on and so forth. And I did the numbers. I'm like, okay, I'm happy with the way it comes out at the end of the month. So we're doing that. And then, like I said, he's on the other side of the world. So when I'm sleeping, he's awake and working. Right. Oh, so there's another communication thing where it's like, oh, I have these notes I need done. And then he wakes up, sees the notes that I gave him, and then he has questions, but I'm sleeping already. And it's kind of just the whole back and forth.
Communication lag.
So yes, communication lag to the fullest. And sometimes I do have to wait, like stay up till like 1, 2 in the morning. So when he's waking up, I'm like, hey, like let's get on a Zoom call. Right. So that's all kind of new to me. But now I can sit here and know like, okay, my videos that are coming out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they're already done. And I can be here doing a podcast with you and creating content for myself too. So it's just like, if I wasn't able to do that, I miss out on a lot of opportunities for my brand. And like what you just had, like you did like an event at like an Airbnb, and a lot of cool people were there. I couldn't go because I was overbooked with all my stuff. So operating.
Company.
It's crazy.
So that's what you need to do though, and that's what a lot of people aren't willing to do the fucking work in the middle. They think, oh, I'm going to start a business, be an entrepreneur, I'm going to be a millionaire in 6 months, and the reality of that is just like mathematically fucking impossible. I mean, there are people that do it, but those people are outliers, and it's such a small fraction percentage that it's not even worth entering into the equation. But it is totally. I mean, that's what you have to do in the beginnings. You have to make sacrifices. You have to maybe deal with clients you don't want to deal with. Maybe you have to, cut it on pricing to pull everything together. And once you have enough volume, then you can start to breathe a little bit. You can start to pick and choose. You can start to, choose different clients, create like a slightly different product. But yeah, in that beginning, dude, those first like year is it's so difficult because pricing is so subjective, like how do you do that? So one thing, if you guys are listening, you're wondering how to price out your product, especially if it's a creative endeavor like this. One of the things, and we ended up doing this, was we stopped doing an hourly rate. We did one project, figured out around like how many hours that would be, and decided, okay, we're going to continue to do similar projects like this. So we moved the pricing from an hourly rate to a per project rate. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it seems like that would work out really good for the editor and the content side of things, because once you establish the kind of the workflow, it's more replicable and you get faster and faster at it. So the hourly that it takes you, the time that it takes you to actually create that project will be reduced over time as the things become like the workflow becomes systematized, right?
Yeah, 100%. Because that was the difference between my first year with doing the music videos, right? There's no cookie cutter to that.
Yeah.
There's everyone wants a different style, different art piece, all that kind of stuff, right? It's a one of a kind. With business, you make money by replicating and processes, and pretty much like the word cookie cutter, right? That's how you make a process, and that's how you can scale. Without that, you can't scale and you can't make money. So like that's where I'm at right now, where you made a good point. I'm just doing hourly to figure it out, because for him, he's new to it.
Yeah.
I'm throwing them all the footage. I'm throwing them all these kind of things. Give them examples of how I want it. Sent me back one. Oh, this is good. I still gave him notes.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to get a baseline.
Exactly. So it's kind of just the same thing. And I'm going to have to do that for all future hires, So, but yeah, definitely going the package route, I believe, is the easier way to go.
Something too, to dive into that a little bit. So what essentially it sounds like you did is you noticed that your clients were becoming problematic. Like payments were an issue. They're not giving you the right, input. It's just taking time to get back. They're just kind of unreliable as far as clients go. We've had some clients like that too. I think everybody has those types of clients. So it sounds like what you did is you took your skill set and you created a different type of product to find a different type of audience. So you took the work that you're doing, the creative skill set, and you're like, okay, this type of product, these types of clients want this type of product. What can I do with my skill set? I can create a slightly different type of product that a different type of client wants. And now you've done that. That's such an important thing, man. Because I think you have to do that to find that right product market fit, whether it's creative endeavor or a physical product or pretty much anything. Like the product has to match the market that you're going for. Because you either way overshoot it or undershoot it, and you have to find that bandwidth where the client. You have to find the clients that really appreciate the work that you do.
Yeah. 100%. And it's the quality too. Like cookie cutter, some people think, oh, like that's cookie, like it sounds cheap, right? But there's a lot of things that are like cookie cutter that are very good quality, because you have to have good quality for, of course, like brand recognition, like, oh, he does really good stuff and he does it quick, right? The whole like quality over quantity, like, no, you can't have fucking both. You know what I mean? 100%.
You have to templatize it to scale.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why people keep coming to you. And that's just how you scale.
Yeah. And sometimes too, depending on the product, like a little bit of like structure actually creates a better product. So like an iPhone is a quality product, but they're not like, hand making each one individually. Nope. Like they have all these, molds and systems, like all these things put together, and the machine creates them, pumps them out. But I don't know how much it would cost to have like a custom made. like what, $10 million?
Yeah,
it's stupid. So, but you can't scale without systems and processes. And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up, is they don't really know what the next step is. And I think what you did is exactly right. Just go fucking do it.
Yeah.
Just go take the first step and adjust and see what happens, because you can map anything out, as far out as you want, but I've never found any of my plans, I map out like 10, 15 steps down the road, and I've never had any of those plans be correct beyond one, maybe two steps.
Yeah.
Because you learn something through those first two steps. You're like, oh, I thought step 3 was going to be this, but I need to change this slightly. I thought step 4 was going to be this, but I learned this on step 3. So we're going to modify and move this and change it around. I think that's the core of business, is that you have to have this big driving goal where like, I want to build, something big, whatever that is, but you have to have the flexibility to actually modify your systems to actually get there. I think Disney, I don't know if she came up with this quote, or it's a really good quote though, but it's be stubborn about your goals and flexible about your methods. And I was like, dude, that's exactly what business is. Like you have to hold strong to your big goal. But if it's like walking a straight line, right? If I want to go to Pacific Beach from here, I can't just walk a straight line. I'll be going over mountains, over freeways. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't look like that. Nothing in life looks like that. So you have to kind of figure out, okay, here's where I want to go, and then find your way there and acknowledge and know that it's not going to be a straight line. It's never a straight line.
No.
And you have to be flexible to bend to those forks in the road. Otherwise, you're just going to fucking crash off a cliff for sure.
Yeah. I think that's a cool thing too. Like going the entrepreneur route, right? Where the quality is of being an entrepreneur. You told me this and it stuck with me, and I never really realized it, where it's like not everyone's supposed to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. To me, it made no sense. I'm like, why doesn't everyone want to be their own boss?
It took me forever to learn that. I'm like, why the fuck don't you want to do what I'm doing? Like, why does everyone want to do this?
Yeah.
Dude, people want different things. It's crazy how different sometimes.
Like what you mentioned before, like the whole being disciplined, like entrepreneurs, we just talked about it, where not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, but our mindset is like, why not? And I remember like talking to a couple of my buddies, and I think it always started back in high school. I was the one that I didn't really go out to the parties. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy like being a crab and editing on Friday, Saturday nights. Exactly. That's what I get texts all the time. Loser, like come out, dude. And I'm like, all right, maybe, blah, blah, blah. But I was so in love with editing and just like learning from YouTube and all that kind of stuff. I just loved it. And my mind was always being okay with just pushing myself, being alone, but getting to that next step. And my friends were like, why do you do this? Like, why don't you ever like take a break in that way? I'm like, well, I love what I do. So like, to me, it's not work. It's like that cliche. It's not work, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah. Passion for it. For sure.
And then now it's just when I talk to my friends, they're like, sometimes they say, oh, I want to be my own boss.
That's what they think. Yeah.
I want to be my own boss. That's cute.
Set my own hours, right? Oh, that old thing. Yeah.
So,
you mean 24/7?
So you mean you want to sleep in, go do whatever you want at any time and do all this and then make like $12K a month. You want to do, that's what you think about.
That's what they think it is. It's
no.
not like that, man.
And I never had the intentions of that. I never thought like, oh, like it's going to be so easy. It's not easy at all. Like at nothing. But the biggest thing about being an entrepreneur, if you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, these are like the things that I think about all the time, or like that I just know within myself of what I do. First one is discipline.
Yeah.
If you don't have a schedule, if you don't have exactly what you're planning out the day before, the week of, all your goals, you're going to fail right in the beginning because you don't know what's happening.
Well, because you have to be a professional about it. You know what I mean? You can't just take a hobby and continue to be a hobby and expect to get paid. You have to move into professional fucking realm, which means you have to act and think and do like a professional. And yeah, scheduling is a huge part of that, man. Yeah, totally agree.
Getting everything in sync, right? The second one, you have to be a problem solver. If you don't solve problems, you're in the wrong business. Like you're in the wrong thing. Go work for someone else that you fix someone's problem, right? What happens like when you do work a 9 to 5? If there's a problem, who do you go to?
Hand it off to somebody, or you go home at the end. You're like, hey, your problem. Whatever.
Yeah, it's like, but when it's yours, it's they like employee wise, they look like, what do we do?
Yeah.
All right, this is what we do. Well, the shipment didn't come in time. All right, this is what we do. Right. The edit, it's taking too long to do. All right, this is what we do. Like you always have to know, like take a step back, breathe, but understand like it's your business. You started it. So like whatever you do, like you gotta go full throttle onto it and be able to solve problems.
Yeah, and that's that situation you describe where you're dealing with these problems, and your team is coming to you to solve the problems. That's that intermediate like manager step where you have like 4 to 5 people, but they don't really know everything that you know, and they're not like fully versed in every little particle of the business. So they'll ask you a lot of questions. The next step above that, when you have more people, you'll have that core group. Is usually when a manager, you have core group of 4 or 5 people, and then as you expand into leadership, those people will become kind of leader managers in their own right. And so they'll be the one training up the new people. They'll be the ones answering the questions for them. So you are freed up from that day-to-day, question asking, tasking thing. And that's where you'll find so much more time to accelerate and just kind of move towards your vision, because the taskings that you will have in your day-to-day are completely different than the taskings that your team will have, or even you had when you were in those previous roles, like manager and operator. And that's why you see a lot of these businesses, they bump up against that first layer where moving out of the operator role into the manager, because it is totally different. It's very difficult to do because you're dealing with people. And then the level beyond that, moving into a leadership position, is difficult because now you're training managers, you're training the people under you as employees to become managers, which is a different level of responsibility. But once you do that, that's when you see companies start to really accelerate. That's when our company started to accelerate, when I put Disney as CEO, and we had some really big challenges that we had to overcome. But now that we've, solved those issues, like, man, like we're fucking on a runway, dude.
Yeah.
Like Afterburner's on, we're fucking going. So it's been interesting to see like the different tiers and the stair steps of how it goes, and like learning different things at different levels. But I think you hit something that was so core. There is the different perspectives, and this is something that, because we talked about this before, is that I didn't figure this out until like a year ago. So it took me like 14 years to figure this out, because the things that I want are very logical, right? Like I'm very pragmatic and very numbers-based person. So my opinions and the things that I go for and the things I want are usually based on a very logical set of parameters. So I oftentimes have a difficult time understanding why other people want different things, because to me it makes no sense. Like, why would you want to do this? It makes no sense to me. It took me a long time to understand that, dude, not everybody wants what I want. And it seems so simple.
Yeah.
But dude, it took me forever to learn that. But once I did, dude, it affected everything, because now instead of creating deals with people where I would give them what I thought was a great deal, where I'm like, hey, this is the deal that I would want, and they didn't like it.
Yeah.
And they were mad at me and thought I was, fucking them over or something. I'm like, bro, this is, like, from my perspective, a really good deal for you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why you're not seeing it this way. And also, like, employees and things like that, where we for a while we're structuring our pay structure with some of our employees to where they had a small commission base. And we realized, because that's what I would want. Like, okay, we're going to financially incentivize you to do a good job and take care of your customers and make sure that they have a really good experience. But what we realized is that they're not motivated the same way I am. And so we are in the middle of changing our compensation structure to just a higher rate of pay and no commission, because we're realizing that the deal that I was making them wasn't what they wanted. I was making them a deal that I would want.
Yeah.
And in reality, it was off. It was misaligned with what they wanted. So me coming to the understanding that, fuck, I don't know shit about what other people want, made me have to reach out and be like, okay, I need to dig into this. I need to figure out what the fuck these people want.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be able to build something that gives them that.
Yeah.
So that was a key thing for me about a year ago. I really started to understand it. My perspective on things is not normal. It's very unique. And because I always thought I was just like super average dude. So I never really thought that the things that I was thinking were different or odd or off the wall.
Yeah.
But yeah, it turns out I'm pretty fucking weird. So but there's a lot of alignment with other entrepreneurs too.
And I think in the beginning of like doing my own thing, it was it was fucking lonely, like, because no one gets it. And I have like my bonus dad, my stepdad, like he always, he's my bonus dad. He owns his own business, great business. And he was someone that really kind of taught me how to go about certain things and really opened my mind. Right. But I always had that before, but my family, like growing up, mom was a hairdresser, dad worked at a college, and it was kind of just like money issues. Right. And I was like, I don't want that.
Right.
And not at all. So I'm not going to do that. And then I would just study and do the whole like self-improvement, like Tony Robbins, like Jim Rohn, like a whole bunch of people. And that's like how I started going about it. And I was like, I'm just going to be my own boss one day, and I'm just going to take care of it. And I think going through that process now, where I know a lot of my friends where they work for people, which is fine. Everyone, it's okay. Right. But when I talk to them about certain things, things go over their head. Sometimes they just don't understand why. Like they like the idea of waking up at 8, get to work at 9, work Monday through Friday, get home at 5:30, and then they're done.
Well, right? It's like all the shit that we deal with as entrepreneurs, like everything's on fire all the time. You're like, I made a shit ton of money. Oh, I fucking lost a shit ton of money. It's like the volatility. Dude, I totally get why people just want a stable 9 to 5. They want predictability. Like there's nothing wrong with that at all.
No.
That is completely, that's the normal way to do it, and probably a better way to do it. I think entrepreneurs just have to be wired differently to take that risk analysis and be like, you know what? I know that the percentage of the likelihood of me actually achieving this is low, but I cannot fucking not do it. I have to do it.
Yeah.
And then believing in yourself.
It's a burning within yourself if you have to do it. Some people are like, oh, I want to be my own boss. They do it for a week and they're like, oh, that sucks. Like, I still don't have any money yet. Yeah. Like, I have to do the marketing. I have to do the content. I have to do everything on my own, right? And I'm still not getting paid well as my last job. Like, it doesn't work that way. You have to understand, like, in the beginning, that's why my biggest thing is when you want to take that next step of being an entrepreneur, right? There's that jump you have to take. You legit like, all right, I'm just going to do it on my own. Don't just fucking jump.
Right.
Assess that you're like, okay, have some saving, right? Be smart about that. And if you don't have the savings, make the savings, because that's also like a thing in your head. It's like a goal. If you don't fuck with the savings and do anything about it, you're going to quit. being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
If you can't do those little small goals, right? If you don't read every single night about like a certain topic, right? If you're not constantly growing while you're working, right? That was a lot of people when they're like, I want to start my own business. And I say, you can. The biggest thing is you're going to be exhausted, especially because I do my whole business now. But when I was working for other companies, I would get home from the 9 to 5 and then hop on to my stuff.
That's what you have to do. You have to.
And that's the thing where that's the burning desire of like, oh, okay, I want it.
Yeah.
That's when you really think you work 2 jobs. One's your side hustle and you want to build that, and you do your 9 to 5. That's when it's like, okay, I think you're an entrepreneur and you should go that route. Some people are just like, I'm so tired, I just want to play Xbox and drink. And
that's a great point, man. And we'll this might be the last point before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
But it's so fucking important, man, because people like, when do you jump? When does your side hustle turn into your main hustle? When do you cut the safety net and go all in on it? And it's sexy to take the approach of, go all in, don't have a plan B, burn the fucking ships. Like that's cool, that sounds really cool. But man, I would really not suggest that plan, because you're going to get punched in the fucking face. Like, so it's sexy to say no plan B, all this shit, rah, 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 rah. But the reality is the method that I always suggest, which is not as sexy, not as committed, not as cool, is keep your day job and do your side hustle literally on the side. Yeah. And the apex point where I've always found it makes sense to jump is where you look at because this is where it fell for me, was I was still an instructor at SQT when I had industry and we were growing it. And the time that it took me to do industry was starting to erode the performance that I was able to give to my primary job. And it started to cause some issues. And I waited probably 6 months too late, because I was too much of a pussy to take the leap and actually quit and do it, because it was a pretty good job. I was, making like $100,000 doing that. And I wasn't certain that the side hustle would make up for that when I jumped. But what happened was, once I committed to it and realized that I was over that apex point where my side hustle was really impacting my primary, then once I put that time into the side hustle as the main thing, dude, it just accelerated. Yeah. And it was like pouring gasoline on a fire. Mm-hmm. But if I had left my primary job in the first month of running industry, dude, no way. Would have crashed and burned. I think you have to run parallel for a little while. Yeah. And then it's very important to know where to fade out of one and fully commit to the other. Yeah.
I think a lot of people, and that's a good, exactly. Like when I was at my last company I was working with, I was like, all right, it wasn't like, all right, 2 months I'm going to quit. It was like, no, it was January of 2020. I was like, all right, I'm gonna give myself a year and then go. And then COVID happened during 2020, during when I was working at the company, and my mind's like, do I stay, do I go? No, you're still fucking going, dude. Like, go. And that was 6 months in. I'm like, all right, still got 6 more months to go. Saved, did all the value, got clients on the side doing that stuff, and then when it was time to jump, like, it was January 1st and I was gone. So it's just like, you do have to have those plans going into it. So no, but it's fucking hard, dude. I would rather choose that kind of work, stress on myself, because I'm building something for myself and for my future family. Everything I'm doing, it has a why and a purpose, compared to like going into some job and dealing with some bullshit that I'm like, I just don't care because it's not mine. In a way, it's a selfish thing, but
I think for me, because I really like all the people that we have on staff, and I love coming to work and building it, in tandem with them. So I think for me, because that was the initial thing where I was like, I want that, like exactly everything you described. I want that. But now for me, it's the control over the work that we do, the clients that we bring on board, my personal time, control over, like if we want to, we just upgraded the medical insurance for our staff. I'm like, dude, that makes me feel fucking good to be able to do that. So being able to have the control over the resources and the assets to kind of build the life, and not just the life, but like your business life, like how your team perceives you, how the world perceives what you do and what your brand is about. having control over that, I think is just a fucking monumental expansion over, just, I don't want to say just working for somebody, because that is a very valid and like amazing thing to do.
Yeah.
And probably a more sane thing to do, because dude, I don't know how many times I've questioned everything I've done. I'm like, oh my God, why would anybody do this? This shit fucking sucks. It's a total pain in the ass.
When I have my highs, like my high this year is like hitting 6, like hitting 6 figures. That's my high. Like, oh my gosh, did it, like over 6, awesome. But then I still sometimes I'm like, oh, like there's so much to do, like that, like, and that's why you gotta delegate. But it's okay to second guess. But then to me, like they always talk about, like, what's your why? Yeah, go back to your why and why you're doing it.
Absolutely, man. It comes down to passion too. But I'm learning from, guys like Andy and Ed and other dudes in the syndicate and other places, man. It's one thing that really stood out to me from those guys opening up about, similar conversations to this, is that, dude, they deal with the same problems you and I do. It's just the decimal points are a different spot, and that really made me realize, dude, it never ends. Yeah. It never fucking ends. Because I always thought, oh, dude, I'm fucking this up. I'm screwing up this entrepreneur thing. Like, why do people even listen to me? I've got all these fucking problems with my business. And I realized, talking to those guys, they have the same shit. They have the same problems. They have the same doubts, the same fears, the same insecurities. It's just that they don't fucking care and they keep going. And I think that's the difference between failure and success. Is things are only a failure if you stop trying. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because everybody's going to come across challenges and have issues and have problems. But it's never a fucking failure until you just throw in the towel and decide that you're not going to do it anymore. Yeah.
Like a quick thing, then we can wrap it up. Like, to me, some people are like, oh, he's always been the video guy. Not true. I always love video editing, all that kind of stuff. But because I didn't go to college, I went to community college for a month, and then I was like, this ain't for me, or a semester or whatever. And I was like, I'm going to be 19 or 18. I'm going to get my real estate license. I'm going to do real estate. So I got my real estate license. And that was tough. Yeah. Right? Then I did it for about 6 months. And I had these excuses like, oh, no one wants to buy a house from a 19-year-old when they don't even have the one themselves. All this kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is tough. So I was like, oh, I'll put that on the back burner. I'm going to become an EMT. So I went to school, become an EMT, got certified, did all that kind of stuff. But then I was like, it's not for me. I'm more of a creative. I love helping people, right? But that just wasn't for me. And then I was an apprentice for a electrical company, and I did that. So I have like this like whole thing of like what I wanted to do, but always led back to film and editing. Mm-hmm. So there was just like that one time I was like, all right, I'm just going to jump. What do I need to do? All right, I want to get an internship at Universal Studios. And in that moment, I was like, I'm competing with people that are in college and they're doing all this kind of stuff. How am I going to do that? And I said, fuck it, like just go. Yeah. Went upstairs. Went on Universal, they didn't have one, so Paramount was the next one. Short story, I got an interview and I worked at the Dr. Phil show. So like without going to college, I was all self-taught. I went through I beat a couple hundred people for that spot. And that is just one of those things where it's okay to go and try different things. Doesn't mean you failed, right? Some people called me lazy, like you can't stick to anything. I'm like, no, I'm figuring it out. Yeah. The same thing, you go to college to get one degree. Yeah. And you're not even using it anymore. You don't even use it after you graduate. Mm-hmm. So it's like, to me, I'm getting all these different degrees while I'm figuring it out. And then it's film. And now it's like exactly where I'm supposed to be.
It takes a while to figure out like what you really want to do. Like that mix of like, passion and productivity. Like how can you turn something you're passionate into a product or a service that other people are going to, pay you for? And that's really the essence of entrepreneurship is how do I create my life in a way that is going to make me fucking happy and sustainable long term. Yeah. And that's pretty much it, man. So I think first episode went long, was good.
I think it was great.
Yeah. So this is like I said, the first episode. So if you're a viewer, pardon the sloppiness. I'm sure we'll tighten it up as we get better at this. Yes. It's both of our first time running a podcast. Yeah. So, but I'm excited, man. I hope you guys as the viewers see that maybe a little peek. If you're thinking about entrepreneurship, just giving you a little peek behind the curtain of the reality of the things that he and I deal with on a daily basis. And also too, kind of like a good roadmap for if you're thinking about doing it or you're already doing it and you don't know what's next, a good roadmap of what to expect. And we're going to keep doing this and keep trying to provide value. So let us know on Instagram Instagram's probably the best place.
Yeah.
What other topics, what you guys are struggling with, what we could help with. Mine is Invictus 5326, and the work one is industry_threadworks. And then what's yours?
At Kota Films. KOTAFILMS.
There we go. All right, cool, man. Any last messages to the peeps?
Nah, if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment, like, and subscribe to get more video content like this. I love helping you guys. I'm still learning a lot from Ryan Williams. He's kick-ass, and yeah, I just love entrepreneurship and having people around me that are like-minded, and it's always fun.
Shake and bake, bro.
Shake and bake.
All right, perfect.